What is up? Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Shred Show Live. The guest that I have today, he's been one of those people that you've probably seen him, you recognize the name, you've seen his face because he's not only among the top 1% of all originators in the country, this guy has continually been one of those people that has been so consistent and so incredibly impactful in this industry. That's why you've probably heard his name. You've probably seen his face. And I'm truly humbled and grateful to have Ryan Grant joining me because he's not only the co-creator of Neo Home Loans, but as I mentioned, he's one of those people that is a leader, but more than anything, he cares about you. He cares about this industry. And that's why we're about to have one of the most impactful conversations that you've probably heard. We're not talking just about building business. We're talking about mental health, because if you're not right here, if you're not truly focused on the right things, and if you're not in a healthy place mentally, you're not going to strive. You're not going to have success as you hope for. So, ladies and gentlemen, it is about to be one of the best conversations we have ever had on the show. Are you ready? Are you ready? It is time to shred. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and a good welcome to the Shred Show. As I mentioned, Ryan Grant, I could go over all the accolades for days and days. The list goes on and on. But more than anything, he's an incredible person. He's an amazing leader, and he's a mentor to so many of us. Plus, he's just a damn good guy, and I like hanging out with him. So I'm so excited to introduce, first time on the Shred Show here, Ryan Grant, co-creator of Neo Home Loans, and so many more things. Ryan, good morning and welcome to the Shred Show.
Good morning, buddy. Thank you so much for having me. Introduction was probably well more than it needed to be, but I'm excited to be here. Excited to continue our conversation we had at lunch the other day, and just thanks for all you're doing for our business in this industry. You continually bring guests on and provide content, and what you're doing with the social world is really amazing to see. So just want to say thank you for that.
I appreciate that. And you deserve every accolade in the world, because everything I said is not only true, but you're one of those people, Ryan, that we've been fortunate, both you and I, we've met a lot of great people in the industry. You're one of those who truly cares. And this conversation in particular just shows how important the industry is to you, the people in particular, not just the business as a whole, but the individual people, the loan officers, the mortgage professionals who are working day in and day out. And as you and I were having this conversation at lunch, I'm like, dude, this is a topic that not a lot of people talk about. This isn't something, this is kind of like swept under the rug. It's almost the stepsister in the room, like, nobody wants to touch this. Nobody wants to deal with it, but we're going to deal with this head on. Before we do though, I want, for those who maybe don't know Ryan Grant, again, you have so many accolades to your name. I want to get to know you a little bit more. For those who don't know you, how'd you get started in this business?
Yeah, I wanted to be an attorney for most of my young life. And I was
Really?
enrolled. Yeah, I was actually enrolled in law school, but didn't have any money to pay for it after college. And so took a year off, just doing some odd jobs, trying to save up for law school. And my brother-in-law calls me and says he made a bunch of money in the mortgage industry. And I was like, what's a mortgage? And, is there one of those companies around me? So I got into the subprime kind of refinance business, call center, nothing that you would ever like. I lived from 2005 to 2009-ish. I literally learned nothing other than how to put a refinance together after talking to someone on a call. And so I was going to leave the business in 2009. I was going to go back to get my MBA and kind of see what the world had offered. And I was just bouncing around. I worked for different companies for small periods of time. And in 2011, I was like, all right, I'm fully out. And my dad said, well, why don't you just give it one more chance and try and use your personable skills and meet with realtors and kind of work your relationships. I was like, I don't think that's how it works. I think you just send out mailers and you get people to call. And he's like, well, maybe look into it. So I did. Turns out he was right. There are loan officers out there that have relationship-based businesses and people refer them people. So I was like, all right, I'll give it one more shot. And so it was March of 2011. It was really when I started my career. At that point, I never done a purchase loan. I never met a realtor. I didn't have a database of clients. And it was just head down, right? It was One of my mentors said, if you want to work with buyers, go to open houses, right? Because there's buyers there, there's realtors there, and there's homes there. And I said, all right. So that's really how I started my career. I was just at every open house. I was, met every realtor under the sun that I possibly could. I was no different than any other lender in terms of what I offered, or, I didn't have a value proposition other than hopefully you like me enough to send me your deals. But just by showing up, like literally like your shirt, right? I showed up, I hustled, and I did it every day. And I was able to grow a $100 million business in 3 years. And the rest kind of matured from there.
Dude, that is such an amazing story. And the fact that you and I think we have shared this before. We started similar. How my mentor's like, hey, go call these Loan Bright leads. Like, here's a stack of leads, go call them. And then a few years, I'm like, there's got to be a better way. You build relationships, ladies and gentlemen. Look what happens to your business. Ryan and I are going to attest to that you got to go out. It's about building relationships. And now even today, Ryan, you and I both know, because we got a similar start, in 2009, and then 11 is when I say my business took off as well. 11 and 12 is when I really started to grow mine. But now you look at, of course, the industry has changed. There are some certain inalienable truths that have not changed. There's some things that, of course, have almost remained the same, which relationships is, but the business has changed as a whole. And it always is. The one constant in this industry is change. And now more than ever, and why our topic of conversation, I think, is so relevant, is because 2023 was a difficult year for many people. And again, mindset is everything. Some of us thrived in 2023. Some of us are looking forward to 2024. But as you and I had this conversation at lunch the other day, it really started to set in for me, because I know you as a leader, as one of the leaders of Neo Home Loans, not just Neo in particular, but of the entire mortgage industry. You're having those conversations. You saw the state of the industry, if you will. You saw the struggles. You saw the difficulties. And that's why I'm excited for you and I to have this conversation about mental health. So I want to ask, when did this really set in for you? They're like, hey, we kind of have an issue. We kind of have a challenge. Whether you want to call it a problem, whatever you want to call it, mental health is something that is definitely a struggle in this business.
It was really, I started seeing the light go out in people. Right. And what I mean by that is, people that I've known for 10 plus years, and I've seen do incredible, business, right? I've seen them run incredible teams. I've seen them, create amazing results. I've seen them at their energetic best. And over time, 22, 23, it deteriorated little by little. And what I kept seeing was people mistakenly put their self-worth in their production, right? Their sense of pride in themselves and their sense of accomplishment was based upon their results, right? Their professional results, not the activity, not the effort, not the, way they showed up, not their energy, right? But just solely in, where am I ranking, right? How many loans am I closing? How much money am I bringing in? And, human beings are meant to be conditioned, right? We're easily manipulated by outside sources, right? Our brain is a pretty fragile thing. And here you have essentially from 2010, 2011 to 2021, right? A solid decade of the lowest rates we've ever seen in the history of our country, right? Really great affordability for the first 5 to 6 years of that decade. No shortage of inventory, and we just had way more loans than we had people to do loans, right? And because of that, we didn't have to be different. We just had to be there, right? 90% of the business was just showing up, right? And you'd get your portion of it. Now, some people got a disproportionate amount because they showed up different, right? They ran different businesses. They were better at marketing, but a good majority of the industry, they could reach a level of financial success that was a bit of a charade, right? Like almost a bit of a facade in a way, right? Where they thought, well, because I'm me, all of this is happening. And for some people that's true, but for some people it may not have been. The thing I'm trying to get at is it should have never been about the result, right? It should have always been about the effort, the intentionality. It should have always been about the energy in which somebody showed up to the situation. But that wasn't what we were being praised for. Nobody ever said, Ryan, amazing job showing up to all those open houses and working 14-hour days and, staying up till midnight doing all this work and, hiring amazing team members. And like, no one ever looked at the effort. They just looked at the result. They said, great job. Oh, and by the way, you're going to get this amount of money now. Like, my brain changes, like the chemistry of what lights me up and gives me energy starts to change, right? Because I'm not being praised for the effort, I'm being praised for the reward.
So do you think we caused this? I mean, clearly we as an industry were the ones who were always pushing for this. Hey, you've got to be, this is the bar. This is who you have to be. This is what you have to accomplish. And if you're not accomplishing that, then you're failing. Then you're not, you're not among the top 1%. Like, you're nobody. You're not among this certain, top producers. Were we doing ourselves an injustice? Did we ultimately hurt ourselves as a business?
I genuinely think so, because when you're incentivizing the wrong behavior, right, you're going to get the result that is an unintended consequence of that, right? So the only incentivization we've really ever had in the mortgage business is, units and volume, units and volume, units and volume, units and volume, right? It's all production. It's not performance. And we need to start rethinking how we categorize what a really good mortgage professional is. Because Josh, I've seen mortgage professionals that show up on the top of these rankings that have incredible, production results, but they operate like a lawnmower without a bag. Their clients have they just own a home. They don't know how to become a successful homeowner. They have a revolving door of team members. They don't run profitable businesses, and they jump from company to company because they're, running inefficiently or ineffectively. The operations teams feel like they get ran over from the production side of the business because it's all about the volume and the unit. But then alternatively, I've seen people that will do, $1 million a month in production. They'll help 2 to 3 to 4 families a month. And they will do it in a way that they should be phenomenally proud of, right? Their company loves them. Their operations group loves them. Their team is committed to them. Their clients are grateful because they stay a part of those clients' lives. They commit to helping those clients create generational wealth, right? And I would much rather have that person as a part of my organization, right? The person who genuinely performs at a higher level than the person who is just hyper focused on production. Because first of all, it's a much more fulfilling way of doing the business, right? You wake up inspired, you go home fulfilled, right? When you operate into that capacity. If it's just solely production oriented, well, then guess what? When production drops, well, you lose all sense of who you are. Right. And that's when I start seeing the light go out in people. And I'm trying to do everything I can to say, look, like, we need to press that reignition switch. Right. But you need to ask yourself why you're here. Like, why are you in this business? Like, why do you want to do this? It's way harder than it ever used to be. And spoiler alert, it's not going to get easier. Right. So what fires you up to get out of bed in the morning? Right. When you're done at the end of the day, what are you fulfilled by? We all know it's not loans and money. That didn't fill the hole.
I think this is one of those conversations, Ryan, that literally you and I have seen it. We've been in this industry far long enough. So many companies, so many businesses focus on the production, and that's recruiting. Look at recruiting and why people bounce from like bonuses, signing on bonuses, how you're compensated. For years, that is what our industry what's Ryan's production? What's Josh's production? And that's solely what it's based on. And of course, some people are listening to this and watching this, and I guarantee I'm actually hoping this sparks a little bit of like, whoa, what are these two talking? Like, oh, hold on. But clearly, there's a fine balance too. You're a great example. So you look at the leadership of Neo, like I look at the Josh Meadows, the other people who have. There's clearly a balance because you can have an incredible production team or an incredible organization that produces well, but also has a fulfillment like you're talking about. So there is a fine balance, but at the same time, everybody out there, like you mentioned, back when I ran our mortgage company as well, same thing. We had people that were part of our organization that were doing, $1 million to $1.5 million to $2 million, but they were damn good at what they did. I mean, their clients respected them. They trusted them. As you mentioned, they were a true advisor. Their clients came back time and time again. And then we just had the paper pushers. They were just dialing, in and out, revolving door. So there's a fine line. There clearly is. How do we get it to where it is almost a more balanced industry?
I think we need to raise the expectation of what a mortgage professional is.
Bro. You just dropped some truth. You just dropped some. There, people are going to hear that like, whoa. So how do we raise it? How do we respectfully do? Is it a respectful thing? Is it like, hey, this has been the standard for so long. Now we need to be here. How do we do that?
I think some key metrics in terms of, what we're trying to do with Inside Neo is we're trying to say, look, like we want to reward the behaviors that are in line with our mission, right? Which is, how much has your client's net worth grown outside of just the equity in their home?
Ooh.
Right? Like that has a lot to do with the advice and guidance you've given them. Right? Like we have scorecards for our clients that show, do they have their estate plan well in trust? Are they properly insured? Do they, are they understand retirement well? Are they on pace? Right? Or do they have a goal for their next real estate acquisition? Is their assets in the right area? Like, are they in a checking and savings account with no yield, or are they in one of our accounts where they have 5%? Right? We look at the totality of like, how have we helped that client from a financial perspective, and are they on a path to continue to grow through real estate? Right. So the people that do those things well, those are the people we want to bring on the production trips. Right? Those are the people that we want to. Okay. You could have someone who helps $100 million of volume, and you look back and their clients are in disarray, right? And they have no goal. They don't have anyone helping them. They're mismanaging, their future. Then you have someone that does 10 million and their clients are on pace to do really well. But like, it's kind of an off topic from mental health thing, but I think it aligns with it, right? Because what I found is our group is pretty locked in when it comes to their energy, right? Because they're really proud of what we're trying to accomplish. And if you don't have that kind of North Star for why you're there, you get lost.
See, that's exactly what I was going to say. As we have this, as we was kind of going this way, I'm like, are we talking about mental health? And of course we are, Ryan, if you think about it, because going back to what you said earlier, if you're just trying to crank out, if you're trying to, production wise, hit this level, you're just trying to crank next deal, then you get burned out. All of us have seen it. Look at the top. You and I both have met top producers in this industry who, when that's all it's all about, they get burned out, whether they say it or not. They don't enjoy, like I said, the why. Why are you showing up? This all goes to mental health. If you're actually showing up for your clients, helping them build a lifetime of wealth, it's not just about the next mortgage. It's not about the next refi or the next purchase you're helping your realtor partner with. If you're building this lifetime's wealth, truly being an advisor, which many leaders in our mortgage industry are talking about, yourself, Barry Habibs, Dave Savage, a lot of people talking about being a true advisor. But now we actually have companies like Neo and leaders like yourself who are like, hey, we need to be advisors. It's not just about the next transaction. It's how are you helping your client with the next, real estate transaction? How are you helping them build this long-term wealth? That becomes fulfilling. That becomes something where I'm like, hey, I want to show up, and mentally you get excited for the next day. It's not just like, damn it, I got to go put out fires on the mortgage transaction again. It becomes like, how am I helping this family achieve their desired results? So yes, of course, I think it is a mental issue, a mental health, a mental wellness state, because you are doing something that is so much more fulfilling as a human being.
And if you think about the alternative, you lose your sense of uniqueness, right? And I think that's one of the things that people are struggling with a lot right now, which is, look, when you were funding a lot of loans and making a lot of money, you felt pretty unique, right? Because you look around at your peer group, you look around at your friends, your family, right? The people that aren't in the mortgage industry, and you are outpacing them, right? From an economic perspective, and you feel on top of the world, right? And everybody, everyone's moving up and doing this. And like people like with that status comes a certain way of feeling, right? It comes a lot of pride, it comes a lot of energy. But then you don't realize like, well, I wasn't really different. I worked hard, right? But like if you stack up 10 loan officers next to each other and they all do $100 million, you're not going to find massive differences there, right? You're just going to find that they all work hard and run good businesses. But now all 10 of those people are at 50 million or at 25 million or at various ranges of less, and income's down, and maybe lifestyle creep happened, right? Maybe they lived beyond their means or didn't really save enough. And now it's like, well, other than me trying to be the cheapest, what makes me different? And that's a pretty hard thing for your mind to contend with when you felt pretty damn different for the last 10 years. Right? And now what? What am I doing? Why would someone choose me? There's always going to be a cheaper option. Why would somebody pick me? And that like sense of losing yourself, it's like a negative flywheel, right? Actually, chemically, when you're working hard and winning, right, testosterone is released in the body, which makes hard work way easier, right? Because the results are chemically creating a kind of a continual loop, right? The same thing happens when you're not winning, right? You don't see as many deals in the pipeline, right? You don't see as many fundings. Your bank account is diminishing. Like your body creates less testosterone for men and women, and it makes hard work that much harder. So the downfall of people's business is creating a paralysis because they just don't have the energy, right? Like you need something, and everyone's looking for it externally, right? What company can I go to? Who's got a better product? Who's got the cheapest rates? How can I deliver X, Y, or Z? When it really has to start internally. Like you need to believe in the deepest parts of your soul that you are incredibly valuable to the communities that you serve, and you're incredibly valuable to the business partners that you work with. If you have that belief system, then you don't need an external solve, right? Like it can all come from the fire inside of you.
How? I mean, this is one of those questions, like Ryan, you're literally like, as you were talking about it, you're giving me goosebumps because I look at our industry, I look at the conversations that are still, especially going into year like 2024, I still see companies going about it and like, hey, Ryan, we come over here, we're going to help you get you to this production. We're going to help you get back to your levels, prior 2023, 2022. That's still the focus for most companies. So how do we get from where we are now to exactly what you're talking about? Because that's ultimately helping individuals, helping mortgage professionals as a whole feel what you just talked about. I mean, this truly is a monumental shift. This is we're going on the edge of pioneering an entirely new mindset, which I know you're all about. You continue to be a pioneer and Shane a leader, but how do we go from where we are at now to where you're talking about in the future?
You need to believe in the totality of your product. And it's not, when I say product, I don't mean mortgage product, right? Because we all have the same ones of those, right? We're all offering the same things. But what is it that you're offering to your business partners? What is it that you're offering to the community of people that you're serving? What is it that you're offering to the potential teammates that may join your organization? Like there is a totality of who you are and the product that you're delivering, to the market that you genuinely have to believe in. And you have to know how important that product is. And I think we've lost that sense of belief in ourselves. Because guess what? People needed a ton of loans for the last 10 years. They always needed loans, right? They'd buy a home would go up in value. They'd buy another one, interest rates would come down. They'd refinance 2, 3, 4 times. They'd take out equity. Like, people always needed what we did. If people don't need the transactions that we facilitate, what are we here for? Right? Like, what product are we really offering? And if there's more of us offering this product than people who want it, we have a demand problem, right? Which means we have a margin compression problem, which means we have a revenue problem, and that it's this really downward, ugly cycle. But there's those of us who have found the blue ocean. And we know that the product we're offering is not just the one that people used to want, it's the one that people really need. And it's a pretty inspirational feeling. And it's something that we want to go tell everyone about. And we have to work our ass off because nobody's asking for it, right? Nobody has pointed a finger at the mortgage industry and said, the reason why there's a 1% and a 99% in this country is because of the mortgage industry. I would make the argument that we were complicit in it, right? Because think about it. Most of America will not reach out to financial planners, estate planning attorneys, CPAs, because they just don't have a need, right? Like, a really good financial professional cannot help the average person. They don't have enough money. They're just not going to make enough money. There's not going to be enough time or resource for that to happen. So almost everyone that we help is really on their own in terms of real estate finance and in creating a better generational wealth profile for their kids and their families to come. But almost everyone wants to buy a home. It's in the DNA of our country. We fought a war so we could own land, which means that almost everyone will say, I wonder if I could just buy a house. Which means our industry has the greatest opportunity to impact the largest number of families' financial livelihoods. We've just never done anything about it. We've always just offered debt when they need it. But that can and should fundamentally change. And that's where you can get a reinvigorated sense of like, okay, I can reinvent myself, right? I can be something more. I can believe in my head that I can impact these families' lives beyond mortgage lending. And that belief system will grow and grow and grow. And then that flywheel kicks in the other direction. The alternative is just be cheaper and cheaper and cheaper until we all hit the wall, right? And loan officers aren't needed anymore, right? Because we found a way to disintermediate any education, advice, guidance, or strategy. And that's a real, I was talking to a guy the other day, and I'm like, why are you doing this? He's like, honestly, I'm just, going to try and get cheaper and cheaper and make as much money as I can until there's no loan officers anymore, and then I'll figure it out.
Wow.
And I was like, that sounds like a nightmare, right? That sounds like no legacy, no impact. It sounds like you've basically already given up. You're just going to try and ride the ride until it stops.
Which honestly, Ryan, is so incredibly sad as an industry to hear, but that's what we've created. And that's why this conversation that you and I are having is so critically important for the future success of our industry. And you have leaders like yourself, organizations like NEO, and leadership that's like, hey, there's, whether you want to say better or a different way, there's a way that, again, can make you feel so much more valuable, not only to your clients, not only to those you serve, but to yourself. Like you mentioned, you start coming in here, you start realizing you are something different. You are valuable in such a more profound way than just helping somebody get the next mortgage. And we're coming up on our 30 minutes here, and I want to be respectful of your time, but also, as I mentioned, there are organizations, there are communities out there, like as I mentioned, NEO, and something that you and an incredible team of leaders put together is Loan Atlas, which is one of those organizations that if this is what you're striving, if you want more out of what so many of us have been in this industry for a long time, Ryan. And like you said, we've kind of just gone through the motions. But if you're needing something more, if you want to surround yourself with the right people, that's exactly what you guys have created, an organization to find this fulfillment, to get right here, to get right here. And that's what you guys have put together.
Yeah, you know, what was interesting is I was a part of a lot of different coaching groups and masterminds and all these different things as I was coming up in the industry. And I found that those organizations were really great in helping me increase my production, but I grew out of balance, right? I lost sight of what was really important, right? Because I was so focused on the next, idea that was going to generate revenue, right? Or the next business flaw. And when I found this community, the L360 community, which is really the Genesis, Tim Brahim, and the whole group that we all created Loan As together, that was back in 2017. And I really genuinely believe that it changed not only the trajectory of my professional life, but my personal life. I'm a better father. I'm a better husband. I'm a better friend. I think I have a better perspective than I would have otherwise. And that's really what we're trying to do, because everyone's, trying to reach the top of the mountain, but they're climbing with one arm. Right. And when you start to realize that you need energy, you need love, you need perspective, you need gratitude, like all of these are tools that are not talked about in the mortgage industry, which is why you can see people go from 0 to 60 and back real quick. Right? Because we're not taught. Look, most of us are here on accident. You've interviewed God knows how many mortgage professionals. Has one of them ever said they wanted to do this when they grow up? Right? Like, this is all something that we all fell into and we found our way. But unfortunately, we're not surrounded by people that are focused on the right things. Like mental health, being grateful for what we have, being aware that the communities that we serve can be better served, not just sold debt, right? Like, how do you be a good leader? That's what most teams struggle to grow, not because of their propensity to get more business. It's their ability to lead and retain a team, right? And create scale. And leadership is not I don't care what anybody says. There's no such thing as a born leader. Like, that is very much a learned skill, and you have to be around other people and experience true leadership. And I think if there's, interest rates, inventory, buyer hesitation, all those things are a problem in the mortgage industry. But I think leadership is the biggest problem in the mortgage industry, right? There's a void that, where people keep pushing the last 2 decades of do more of that to try and find those results. Like, those days are gone.
I think what you just said, Ryan, is probably more true than it's ever been in our industry. Is we don't lack the products, we don't lack the inventory, we don't lack the interest rates, we lack the leadership. Like, and some people may take that, we don't mean it offensively, but it's true. The mentality, the conversations that we continually have in this industry have always been focused in this direction, always this production, but a shift needs to happen. And that's why I was so excited for, again, you as a friend, you as a mentor to me, you as a leader to so many, you and Neo and Loan Atlas and the team that you surround yourself with. That's where you're taking it. You're taking it the opposite. Hey, it's time to shift. It's time to truly get people in the right mental place, to help them have the fulfillment, to be a better father, to be a better spouse, to be a better wife, to be a better professional, because that in all that entirety will bring you so much more happiness, so much more joy. And that's what we're missing. And that's why I was, again, as somebody I see and I have conversations with you, like guys like yourself, we need more of that. And that's exactly what you and your team and your organization is focused on, is creating that. And I'm confident that you're going to achieve, because when you set your mind to it, and I know the guys that you surround yourself with, the team you surround yourself with, they have the same mentality. And when you guys come together, there ain't nothing you guys can't accomplish together. So I am incredibly excited to see what you continue to do, because you're going to make this happen. So I'm stoked for it.
Thank you, man. And I appreciate the support. Trying to change and redirect an industry that doesn't want to be changed, that doesn't want to be disrupted, and the majority of the people within it don't understand like what's possible, right? Given the right like partnership structure, given the right leadership structure, given the right kind of vision for what they could be. It's challenging, and I've struggled with my own mental health. I was talking to one of my partners this morning about waking up with some panic attacks from time to time about like, are we going to be able to shift this industry? Right? Is it going to let us? Right? Are we going to have the time? Are we going to have the ability? And I genuinely believe that we will, but we need more people to understand what is possible. Right? Because if we can surround ourselves with people that remind us more of the future than of the past, we have a real shot at doing this.
What a way to end. We couldn't have ended in a better way. I 100% agree with you. It takes the right people. And again, you and the entire Neo team, the Lone Atlas team, that is your focus. Ladies and gentlemen, go back and listen. Share this entire episode with your community, your organization, because what Ryan shared with us today is happening. And it just takes the right team. It takes the right people. It takes the right mindset. And that's why I'm so excited to continue to work with Ryan, with the Neo team, with Lone Atlas. We're going to drop the links below. If you want to surround yourself with the right people, then click the links below, reach out to their team, because it's here. If you want that fulfillment, if you want to get right here, if you want to get right here in your heart, then it just takes surrounding yourself with the right people like Ryan and their team. Ryan, this has been absolutely monumental. I cannot thank you enough. I know myself, even after these 30 minutes, I'm excited for the future. I'm pumped up. I'm in a better mental place. So thank you so much for all that you do, my friend. You're truly an inspiration to our entire industry.
Thanks, Josh. I appreciate you, brother.
Guys, make sure, like I said, follow Ryan, follow their team. We'll drop the links below so you can make sure you don't miss a single post, a single opportunity to better yourself and get right here mentally. And if you have questions, if you need help, reach out to us. Reach out to Ryan, reach out to the Neo team, or us here at Shred. As always, we appreciate you. We love you. Now it's time for all of you to go show up, hustle, repeat every day. See ya.